Also, what's going on? We've been watching the Aaron Hernandez trial, and it got a whole lot more interesting as Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner, on the witness stand. Dan Wetzel, who's covering this for Yahoo Sports, kind enough to join us. And if you have to run, Danny, then you let me know if they restart the trial. But what recap today, if you can.
Well, they brought in Robert Kraft, who we weren't sure was going to testify or not, and he basically testified about a day, Wednesday after the murder, 2 days after Odin Lloyd was found murdered. He had arrived at Gillette Stadium for work. Obviously, Aaron Hernandez had become a major suspect. There was a huge media throng, helicopters above, so he knew Hernandez was there. Kraft went into the stadium and went right to the Patriots locker room, and it's kind of his want, decided he needed to have a man-to-man talk with Hernandez, who, as he says, he considers all of his players sort of family, and if the guy needed help, he would help him. So they went into a little side room, and he said to Aaron, are you involved in this murder? And Hernandez told him he was innocent and that he hoped that the time of the murder would come out because he was in a club at that time. Now, those are significant because while the prosecution has not been able to show Aaron Hernandez pulled the trigger on the murder, they have overwhelmingly shown he was not at a club that night and was, I would say, it'd be almost impossible to believe any juror doesn't think he was at the scene of the crime that night, and he was clearly with Odin Lloyd, the deceased, all night. There's photos, DNA, tire marks, shoe treads, everything. So what it showed for the prosecution is that while it certainly would seem like a good idea to have Kraft backing up, I'm innocent, that he lied to Robert Kraft about the time of the murder and being in the club, and as such, and had thrown out an original alibi that clearly was untrue and is not the alibi or the defense that he is currently employing trying to beat this rap. So it's not massively significant, but it's a pretty damaging bit of testimony from Robert Kraft to Aaron Hernandez.
Hernandez's fiancée the past couple of days, help or hurt him?
Definitely hurt him. She did not finish him off the way she may have been able to if she had testified that he told her to remove a gun from the house. But her stories were so implausible the last couple, particularly on Monday, where she was describing, basically she said Hernandez contacted her and said, the day after the murder, I need a box removed from our storage room immediately. And this is at a time when her sister, whose boyfriend is the one who was murdered, was over the house. She's comforting him. She had enough suspicions of Aaron Hernandez at that point that she had directly asked him, "Did you do this?" Yet when and he said no, and she left it at that. Yet when Hernandez says, "Hey, hon, go downstairs and move a box from the house and get rid of it," she immediately does it and says, "I never asked him what was in the box. I never looked at what was in the box. I covered this box up and drove it to a mystery dumpster that she cannot recall the location of, disposed it, and came back." That story is virtually implausible that anyone would do that, particularly when you've already suspected someone for murder, that you would ask a person like Aaron Hernandez, who's not an easy person to confront, whether or not they did it. So I think that really helped the prosecution, whose basic deal with the murder weapon is, yes, we don't have the murder weapon, but we have surveillance images of the murder weapon, and we have a very believable story that the fiancé threw the murder weapon out the next day.
If this trial ended today, Dan, what would the verdict be?
I think he would be found guilty, but there is certainly a door to where he's not guilty, and we're still talking about a jury trial. We've seen all sorts of crazy verdicts come out of the trial, but I do believe the prosecution, he's more likely to be found guilty now than I did at the start of the trial. Prosecution has meticulously, often maybe too much, but have really put him at the scene of the crime and established that evidence and taken away any possible alibi. There's virtually no exculpatory evidence. The defense is basically the police just targeted him, which a little bit hard to believe because you have so many police involved. So I think he would be found guilty. But look, we have not heard from the defense yet, and it's still a jury trial, so you just never know.
I know you got a busy day. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate it.
Anytime, Dan.
All right, Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports covering the Aaron Hernandez trial.